So I apologize for being late. It was on my calendar as 8 o'clock. So my time, which is Central Standard Time. And I was just eating lunch at Mahogany Bay or dinner at Mahogany Bay. And Plum, my Rebecca, who's on joining us, she was on and messaging me, "Where are you at?" And so I apologize. It was wrong in my calendar. So I'm sure we lost quite a few people, but there are still some people on. And so I am here to answer your questions. I did have a guest scheduled for tonight, and it was a teacher. She's going to join us next week. She was in a car accident 2 days ago, and she's just really, really sore. So she messaged me today asking if she could be next week. So I'm kind of here talking about Belize and your questions. I'm coming to you live from Mahogany Bay Village. I'm in my sales office here. So send me your questions and let me know what I can answer. I'll kind of just talk a little bit and we'll kind of figure out how tonight will go. And we can end early if there's no questions. And I truly apologize for all that. Just to give you a little bit of update, I got an email from the BTB today. I haven't fully read it yet, but they are starting the insurance, the new travel insurance. So it starts February 7th, or no, this is February 7th. The insurance starts February 15th. It's now available for purchase. The insurance plan, and I'm just kind of reading it a little bit, paraphrasing it. The plan is available for 18 US and it provides coverage for up to 50,000 in medical expenses related to treatment of COVID for a period of 21 days, including lodging expenses due to quarantine, up to $2,000 US a day, or max $300 a day. You'll also be covered for emergency assistance as well, air evacuation, and also trip cancellations. So there's some websites and all that. I'll probably put this in my newsletter this week. So make sure you're subscribed to the newsletter, and I will get it to you this week when I write the newsletter. So I'm just coming back from my my goals retreat. I was incommunicado the first weekend of January, and just darkness, where I'm just in my mind playing full out with my mentors and 280 of us in Lake Las Vegas. So we're at a Hilton resort with a big campus because we had a lot of journaling time and things like that, and really talking about goals and things like that. So if you listen to last month's podcast, we had my mentor on there, one of the developers or one of the owners of Mahogany Bay Resort, the Curio Hilton by Hilton. And so it was great. Coming back, I caught COVID. So I was down, must have been the Omicron, because I wasn't feeling that bad, but I did. I was tired and whatnot. So again, while I'm talking, just put some questions in the question and answer box. I'm kind of watching that box, not the chat box, just so I can kind of, keep my mind, kind of going straight. So I caught COVID. I tested negative at the airport, but I knew I wasn't feeling right. So I went and took another COVID test. And then I went straight to Belize City, got in my truck and drove to my house in Placencia and quarantined in my house in Placencia. Then when I got better, I just worked for a couple weeks there. It is super busy. Some tourists, quite a bit of tourists, in San Pedro as well. We are getting some cancellations and things like that due to the Omicron, and the airlines are having issues. I went to Medford, Oregon before the goals retreat. Then I went to Vegas, and I just had a tough time. So the airlines are having a tough time with cancellations. I wasn't sure if the insurance was going to actually pass because there was a lot of negativity locally about it. They did extend the curfew. So the time, so we are still under curfew. It is 10 o'clock, most 11 o'clock during the week. And no, I'm sorry, it's 10 o'clock during the week, 11 o'clock Friday and Saturday. Let me double check that. I'm always home by then anyway, so I'll double check that. I usually look all this up right before, but since I just jumped right on, I think it is 11 and 12. But we'll double check that, and maybe Rebecca, if you could double check that, I can correct myself online here while we're talking. So we got a question, and it's coming from William, and William's asking, most of what you talk about is developments. Is there very much out of the mainstream on the beach that is not tourist area? Talk about developments. Is there much? Yes. Most of the beachfront, though, is tourist area. And tell me which area we're talking about. And that way I kind of know more. Because, there's different beach areas, and there's more touristy areas and not as much touristy areas as far as depending on where you're talking about. So if you can kind of just fill me in on what area. You do not have a specific area. Okay. So if you're talking beachfront, there's 4 or 5 different areas in Belize that is beachfront. You have, starting from top to bottom, you have Corozal, which is kind of on the border of Mexico, and the borders were supposed to open yesterday. And you can go into Mexico pretty easy, but coming back in, you have to take a COVID test to get into Belize. And so the borders were not that busy. So, don't think that worked. And I think they're doing that to kind of discourage people from going back and forth, but we'll see. So Corozal is not really a touristy area. It is got some great areas, close to Mexico. So you can go over the border for Sam's, Walmart, not Target, but there is a Office Depot. There is a Home Depot, things like that. And medical is great over there, as we talked about in some of the other All Access Belize. Then there are some expat areas in Corozal. Then when you come down, the next kind of more popular area would be Hopkins. And then we have Placencia. Then we have Punta Gorda, and then we have the islands, which would be Keycocker, San Pedro. So majority of the beach areas are, San Pedro is the #1 tourist destination, then Placencia, then Hopkins and Cayo and Corozal are, kind of round it all out. And then on the bottom is Punta Gorda, which is more of a Corozal, and Punta Gorda is more of a rocky area, so it's not really a beach. So there are tourist areas in all areas, resorts and things like that. But there are areas where you can go that are not touristy. You can live right in, like in Hopkins, there's more of a expat area, like in the City River area. Phase 1 through 5 is all pretty much, expats. Then the other area would be, a mixture of expats and locals. Placencia is the same way. And then Hopkins, we talked about Hopkins. San Pedro, if you're on the ocean, you're pretty much in expat area, right? A lot of the beachfront property in most of the country has been sold, but there are still some Belizeans that own beachfront. So yeah, I just talk mainly developments. When I talk developments, I mainly talk Mahogany Bay when I'm, because that's one of the projects I represent, and I'm an owner here, and but there are definitely areas. I don't live in Mahogany Bay. I live outside in Placencia. I don't live in a resort. I just live, amongst, expats and locals. So hopefully that answered your question. Bruce is asking, is there a sargassum season? And if so, how long does it last? That's a good question. There's really no season. It really is just kind of the winds and the currents. Like right now, it's starting to come in. Typically, it's not usually here this time, but it has been getting worse and worse, over the last couple years. So right now, it's not bad, but it is coming in. There is, when the winds prevail, it comes from the Africa area. So when the winds prevail and come down and it kind of breaks off, maybe comes in with hurricanes and things like that. So I'd say hurricane season is probably, it's probably off and on. It used to be 2-3 months out of the year, and not the whole months, but now it could be, 2-3 weeks at a time, 6 months out of the year. Some worse, some better. So it's not a Belize thing. It's a Caribbean. It's on the Gulf of Mexico. They have issues with it in Mexico, Grand Cayman. All the Caribbean areas are fighting it and trying to figure out what to do with it. If you're not sure about it, kind of Google it and all. It's like a seaweed. I was told it was kind of grown to help soak up some of the oil, and just the warm waters has just kind of made it grow. But when it's okay when it's in land, it's just kind of nasty going through it because it's so thick. But it does provide a hiding space for fish from the birds and things like that. But once it hits land and it starts to dry out, it decomposes and puts off like a gas, if you will. And it's just, I call it a methane gas. It just really stinks. It is good for fertilizer, and they're starting to build houses with it. They're making bricks and things. You just have to, for the fertilizer, you just have to get the salt out. I've looked into it. I have 100 acres off of the Placencia Lagoon. And I looked at maybe trying to bring it over, but it's just too expensive in trucking to bring it over. And it's not worth it, in my opinion, for the trucking. But so it is a problem, but we just learned to deal with it. And I don't live on the ocean, so I'm okay with it. But I just feel bad for tourists and all that. Here at Mahogany Bay, we're not on the ocean. We're on a series of canals. So we do get a lot of walk-in people that are staying on the ocean and just can't deal with the smell, and they come over to us. So, and then you kind of smell it in town and all that when you're on the island in Placencia. I don't really smell it at my house. I live kind of in the village, but on the lagoon. And I usually don't smell it unless I go to like one of the bars I like barefoot and eat lunch, or Tipsy Tuna or something like that. So if you're at Secret Beach, that's the West Coast side. So if you are coming to San Pedro when it's sargassum time, you can always go to Secret Beach because there is no sargassum on the West Coast. So that's an option to go swimming in. So Michelle's asking, how long is taking to build housing? Approximately 2,000 square feet. Also, you had talked about not obtaining deed to property in a timely fashion. How long is it taking, and when the process is okay to start building? Very, very good questions. So to build a 2,000 square foot house, I guess it depends on when we're talking about starting. If we're talking about shovels in the ground and till you get the keys, then I'd say about 9 months, 12 months of building time. There's some permitting time, drawing the property, the architectural, part. That just depends on how long it takes you to get back with the architect to do any changes and things like that. So about a year for a concrete house. 6 to 9 months, 6 to 8 months on a hardy plank siding or a wood siding house is good. And it is taking, a good builder is ordering supplies very timely, because we are having issues just like anybody else with building, with getting supplies, with everything going on. We did have a strike at the port. So there were 60, 70 containers or 600, 700 containers that were just not being brought in because there was no, stevedores to offload them from the ships. That has since been, since been resolved. But depending on that, if they're ordering in a timely manner, Mahogany Bay, we build in wood, and we do get one wood from the States, and that's the marine plywood. And we have 4 suppliers we've talked to, and they're all out. So things like that is just taking a long time, but typically without any issues, that's the timeline. Getting the title is just been a nightmare. We're constantly working on it and talking about it. I got an email this week that there is a process you can pay extra to speed it through the process. And I think they're doing that just to get more money. But we'll see if they will allow the title process to be in that. The email I got was through the LUA process, which is the Land Utilization Authority. And they were, that's where you do subdivisions and things like that. So we'll see. Hopefully they did have it before COVID, or right when COVID started, a process where you can get title pretty fast. But I have clients that have waited 2 years to get title. So what happens is we use the sales documents and we use your receipts that you paid the stamp duty. So that is helping you to start building right away. So it's not like you have to wait for the title to come in. That you don't have to do. So what else? Good questions, guys. Is there any news on the new international airports? That's actually a great question, and I do have information on that. The international airport in San Pedro, I don't think personally we'll ever see that one. I think it was a campaign promise, but I don't think they would do it. But we never know. The government is broke and doesn't have any money, just like any other government. And so it would need to come from the private sector to build it. And we see how the one in Placencia has been going. So I don't know if it'll get done. I do feel that eventually we will have a kind of in Belize City, we have 2 airports. We have the international airport, and then we have a municipal airport. And that's where all the flights are if you're not going out of the country. I do think we'll have one there in San Pedro in the north, somewhere. I do think we'll have a port somewhere in the north as well. So if you live in the north, you'll go to that port or that airport to alleviate some of the traffic in San Pedro. The international airport in Placencia. So everybody's been following that. A lot of people lost money. The guy's in jail now for that Ponzi scheme. But the airport has been sold to a guy out of Texas. I can't think of his name at this moment, but it is sold. He is willing to finish the airport, but he wants somebody to bring that money in. So I think anywhere between about $12 million should finish it. A lot of work was done to one of the buildings because, we were flying there for Placencia when they were adding the runway and the new lights. So if you're interested, or if you know anybody interested in the airport, I do think it will be a private airport. I think it would be a good investment to finish it. I think it would be private. And when I say private, I mean like regional flights, Tropic and Maya. I think you could come in on your plane if you have a jet or, a turboprop or something like that. You could come in, but then it would take about a year or so before any airlines would come in. And then there would need to be definitely more infrastructure there, fire department, things like that would need to be there for an international FAA compliant airport. And then the biggest cost would be the final coat, which is about $3 million to do US. And so, there's still some work to be done. It's sad to see it there, but the guy got a pretty decent deal, I'm told. Around $9 million is what he paid for it, or $12 million, something like that. I don't think there's no reason I couldn't divulge that. Again, these are all, I don't know what he paid for it. This was all just told to me. Not sure if it's true. I haven't talked to the guy, but he is looking for an investor. So it's just one private owner, a Texas guy who bought it to help his buddies that lost some money on the airport, to help them recoup. He gave them shares and all that in it. So that's kind of the news, what I have on the two international airports. The Philip Golston, which is in Belize City, they are expanding again. So, we're getting all these flights. These new airlines are coming in, and it seems like people are tired of COVID, and they're going to travel. We do have the mask mandate where you have to wear a mask if you're out. But if you're walking into a restaurant, wear it. But once you get in and sit down, you can take it off. Cars, golf carts, you don't have to wear it. If you're on the beach walking, exercising, at the pool, at the beach, you don't have to wear it. I always carry a glass of ice with me or a glass of water, so I don't have to wear one. But by law, you should. Places like Mahogany Bay. I was at the Placencia Hotel having lunch with a client, and we never wore them. It's kind of up to you. It's okay if you want to wear it, but you don't have to. So that's kind of, what we're, with the mask. So next week or next month, if you have any other questions, let me know. We're on. We have another 20 minutes, and I'm happy to go longer since I came in late if we have questions. Next month, we'll have the teacher on. She has a private school. It's not a school, it's a tutoring program while she's trying to get her school license. But she's been a headmaster at a private school, and she's been in Belize for a while. So I thought she'd be good to have on to answer any questions, because we have a lot of nomadic workers that are coming with children, and they want to know about that. I also have either it's going to be a private or not a private, but a special all access Belize where we interview Belize now has a and Rebecca, if you want to put it in the chat, if you have it, if not, I'll find it. It's the Belize Business Zone. So it was passed. I think it's BelizeBusinessZone.org. It's been passed by the government, and it's kind of like, you know how Puerto Rico is kind of like a tax. You can move to Puerto Rico, move your company to Puerto Rico, and you don't have to pay but 4% tax in the US on your federal income tax. We've done that in Belize, and it's one of the 220 jurisdictions, you know, Grand Cayman, Switzerland, Dubai, and then Puerto Rico, and now Belize is one. And it goes to about 2060. And what that gives you is that gives you no federal income tax in the US. So it gives you a business office space. It gives you an address, things like that. And also Rebecca will do a poll as well. And one of the winners of the poll will receive a book of your choice, and we'll send you a list of the books we like to give out. One is cryptocurrency and real estate. Of course, any of the Rich Dad books. And of course, one of the books I had the privilege to co-author is Don't Quit, Stories of Persistence, Courage, and Faith. So happy to give that, or Success Habits of Superachievers. So she'll put that up if you want to do that. But so the Belize Business Zone, in my opinion, is huge. If you move your company to Puerto Rico, you have to pay 4% tax. Whereas if you move it here, there is no tax. The language is English, as you know. There's no capital gains tax if you own the property. And so part of the fee, and I can't divulge the fee, I'm under a non-disclosure. They want to have these conversations with you, but they're going to be on, if not next month, we'll have a special one, and we'll put it out for y'all to see it, because I personally feel it's huge. So again, no income tax as far as federal. If you live in a state like California, South Carolina, where I was from, you know, you still have the state taxes, but no federal income tax, no capital gains tax, no payroll tax. And there's a couple others where you're at, and you get free duty into Belize. So if you want to bring in a plane or a boat or a car or a mega yacht, there's no duty. And I believe it was no expenses going in and out for import and export. So anyways, it's really cool. If you wanted to bring stuff in, build it here, it does have to go back out. So there are some rules with that, but it's huge, to where it will save somebody a lot of money on taxes. So we'll have those people on. I just met with them. They've been working on it for a few years now, but the new government was excited because it'll bring people here, they'll buy stuff here, and then they'll still get the stamp duty. You know, you still have, you know, the GST when you buy stuff and things like that. So the government will make its money. So I think it's pretty huge, and I'm excited to get y'all information on it. Michelle has a question. I've heard that development on Ambridge Cay is moving up north. What are your thoughts on this? It is. The town itself cannot grow anymore. There's a few lots left. So there's still like 5 miles south of Mahogany Bay that you can, you know, that can be developed. And I like the south because of it has, you know, like a patrol, like a neighborhood watch, if you will. So they write down all numbers and tags and everything of people going south at night. So they know if there's a problem, they can look and see, who it could be. And then the only other place it can go is up north. And then, it can be east and west, right? So it can be West Coast, could be East Coast, whatever. If you've ever been to Grand Cayman, if you've ever been to Roatan, that's about the size of Ambergris Caye. And in Roatan, there's probably 100,000 people that live there. There's cars, there's car dealerships, fast food joints, things like that. I do believe, in my personal opinion, that we will eventually get there in Ambergris Caye. I don't know if we'll have as many people, just because a lot of Ambergris Caye has, property that will never be developed. It's kind of a reserve, if you will. So, and they are trying to control some of the development, some of the dredging and things like that. But yes, it is moving north. The Secret Beach area is getting more and more popular. There's a few more houses out there. Once electricity gets out there, I think it will kind of explode. But right now it's kind of expensive to buy the lot, do, a septic system, do solar, and do some kind of, rain catchment or filtration system or something big enough for you to live in, and where you don't run out of water, or where you have to call and have water trucked in. So I do believe that it is definitely moving north. There's a lot of construction. 2021 was probably our best year. As long as I've been living here, we've never dealt with multiple offers. We've never really dealt with properties staying on the market for a very short period of time. And now we're seeing things, listed and sold within a couple of weeks, if it's priced right. And we're seeing multiple offers. I've had to train my agents on, what to do if there's a multiple offer, and how to be, how to do your fiduciary duty to the client in presenting those. So yeah, so that's your answer. I hope that's what you were looking for, Michelle, on that. So anyway, so I do feel that it's going to grow. Ambergris Caye, Placencia, they broke ground by the airport for a polyclinic. So they're doing a nice hospital, if you will. It won't be really a trauma center, but it'll be a nice place to get you. You're at the airport, so they can fly you out. We have lights now, so we can fly you out at night. A lot of the flights now are coming in late. So, you're not having to stay in Belize City. They're bringing flights in at dark, like up to 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock. And it's going good. So it's really, we can definitely see the market is changing. It's, cash flow still, still not a true cash flow market, because there's no financing really, unless it's seller financing, because bank financing is pretty expensive, unless it's a primary residence. Then you can get it pretty reasonable. Still not as good as, North America, but in the 7 to 9%, 7 to 8% range, which is pretty decent compared to when I first moved here. It was like 15, 16%. So what was I saying? I lost my thought. So yeah, we have 10 more minutes. If you have any more questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. So once financing gets here, affordable financing, you will definitely see the market go up even more. So yeah, like what I was saying, it's not really a cash flow market. It's more of a mixture. You get some cash flow to offset some of your cost. You get some tax breaks if you're North American, depending on your tax situation. Again, we're not tax accountants or lawyers, just consult with your tax accountant and lawyers, but you get some deductions on it. And your trips to Belize should be tax deductible for checking on your property. And you do get you do get some lifestyle. You get your foot in the door now before prices go up. So what we encourage is to try to refinance something in the US because the prices there have gone high. So if you can afford it, if you have rental income, leverage it more. The debt is pretty inexpensive right now. That's what Robert Kiyosaki does. We're not telling you to go and refinance your house and go buy a car or go on a trip. We're talking about refinancing it, putting some of it, to use like in buying notes or, oil and gas or something like that, and then taking a portion to buy property here. Gold and silver is another good option. It's one I like and a lot of my mentors like. Yeah, so there's ways you can really get your property here pretty inexpensive if you pull out, let's say, $100,000 from a home equity line, put $50,000 in notes that's paying 10%, 9%, and a note where you're in first position, and then you take the other 50% and buy a property here in Belize. So the payment's being paid by the note, and now you have a property pretty much free here in Belize. And that would work in the US as well, right? So again, it's just ways that we try to help educate our clients on, trying to buy property here by using leverage, because debt is pretty inexpensive. And I think we all realize that they're printing so much money in North America, and the dollar is just going to go down even more. So, we're paying back to, tomorrow's dollars, on our notes that's worth, less every day. And, if we do it right, the tenants or somebody else is paying for it. So the Airbnb market is doing pretty good here. Again, a lot of it is marketing. So it depends how good you are at marketing. If it was me, if I owned a house here and I was going to Airbnb it, I wouldn't leave that up to the property manager. I would have the property manager check the guest in, check the guest out, make sure it's clean, make sure all the repairs are done and everything for a good guest experience. But I would do all the marketing myself, put it on as many platforms as you can, answer really quick. We have a small resort in Hopkins, and my partners, they're super hosts now. You ask them a question, they answer right away, and people just fall in love with them. And so that's what you want. Once you start getting those good reviews and getting those reviews and getting those, stars and getting those super hosts and things like that, that's when you start seeing your rentals come in. And, you just start inching up your dollar amounts as well. So again, Rebecca put in the chat when next All Access Belize is. Thank you all for joining. Again, I feel so bad. And curfew does remain 2200 to 4 o'clock on Sundays through Thursdays, and 2300 to 4 o'clock on Fridays and Saturdays. So, and then 1800 to 4 o'clock in the morning for minors, unless they're with an adult. So wanted to clarify that. She also put in the Belize Business Zone. If you reach out to them, tell them you heard about it on All Access Belize with David Kafka. And again, this will be posted on YouTube. And we couldn't get the poll to launch. Sorry, we're having some technical difficulties. Yesterday we lost power, and BTL lost some stuff, some equipment. So we had no electricity, no cell service for about an hour and a half, 2 hours. and the internet and cell service is still struggling a little bit till they get their parts replaced. So anyway, so we appreciate you joining. Reach out with any questions, and we'll see you again next month on All Access Belize. And again, I apologize for being 15 minutes late. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.